The basics of a community electricity aggregation are that a city or town contracts with an electricity supplier with the goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and stabilizing or possibly lowering electricity costs, although cost savings can't be guaranteed. Electric service has two parts, supply and delivery, and they can be performed by two different companies. The supplier buys electricity from power generators and sells it mostly to utilities, which are the deliverers. Our deliverer here in Needham is Eversource. The deliverer, Eversource in our case, controls the physical power infrastructure, which is the poles and the power lines and so forth, handles customer service such as billing, and responds to service problems, including power outages. Deliverers like Eversource and National Grid can also be suppliers. In Needham, when you sign up for electric service, you get Eversource as your supplier and Eversource as your deliverer. But it doesn't have to be that way. You do have to keep Eversource as your deliverer because it controls the physical power infrastructure. But you can individually contract with a different supplier. In community electricity aggregation, a municipality negotiates with a supplier to establish default rates and other terms for its electric users. It's a power in numbers principle. An individual household cannot negotiate rates and terms with an energy supplier, but a town representing thousands of electricity users can. An important goal of an electricity aggregation contract is to reduce the community's reliance on fossil fuels, which emit greenhouse gases that contribute to climate change. In Massachusetts, energy suppliers are currently required to source 20% of electricity from renewables such as wind and solar, and that percentage goes up every year. But with an aggregation, a city or town can set an entry point for renewables for all electricity users at a higher percentage, say 50%, 80%. Over 100 communities in Massachusetts, including many of our neighbors, already have electricity aggregation contracts in place. In addition to reducing fossil fuel use, some of these contracts have lowered electricity rates for residents and businesses, although lower rates can't be guaranteed. With an aggregation, individual households and businesses can opt to increase or decrease the percentage of renewable energy on their individual account. They can also choose to opt out of the program altogether at any time and return to the base rate offered by Eversource or contract directly with another supplier.
So the overall purpose of implementing a community electricity aggregation program is that it can quickly reduce the greenhouse gas emissions generated by a town due to the vast number of homes that are buying in all at once. And if you remember Nick's slides, 34% of greenhouse gas emissions in town are coming from residential homes, so it can have a big impact. If the town of Needham implements a community electricity aggregation, it can also support the development of more New England-based generation of renewable energy, such as solar and wind, so driving that industry. In an aggregation program, the town may be able to secure more favorable rates because it's bargaining for thousands of consumers, but again, that's not guaranteed. Green Needham, in collaboration with the League of Women Voters of Needham, Mothers Out Front Needham, researched electricity aggregation and the programs that have been adopted by many neighboring towns. And we created a document that provides a detailed overview of electricity aggregation programs. And we submitted that to the select board and to other town officials back in February. And the select board then referred this idea to the newly formed Climate Action Plan Committee. And that committee is recommending to the select board that they prioritize this initiative to pursue an aggregation for the town of Needham. So town meeting must first give its approval before the town can actually begin the process. And we're hoping that will happen this fall at town meeting. And if approved, the process would begin with the town hiring a consultant. And the consultant will negotiate pricing with an electricity supplier help choose a default percentage point of sourced renewable energy, that 30, 50, 80, or 100%. And they'll also work to educate the community on electricity aggregation and its benefits. And the aggregation consultant is paid for by the supplier of the electricity. It's not a cost to the town. Once the plan is completed and implemented, residents' electricity bills would automatically be changed to the default percentage point that the town has chosen, the percentage point of renewables. And that default percentage, as Eileen said, ranges by municipality. So Natick's default rate is 36%, Newton's is 82%, and Lexington opted to have 100% renewables as their default entry point. So residents can then choose to increase or decrease their percentage at any time during the contract, and they can choose to leave the program entirely. So Green Needham fully supports this effort, and we will do everything we can to move it forward, including helping to educate town meeting members and the community about the benefits of electricity aggregation.